is probably the worst reading slump I've ever been in my life. I cannot get myself to pick up a book. I can't. As we know, I've been in a very long reading slump. Fortunately, it has not gotten me out of my slump. If anything, it put me deeper into a slump. I need help. I need all of your tips for getting out of a reading slump. And for the next week, I'm going to use all of the tips that you guys gave me to break this reading slump. First tip that I'm going to follow is to read a short story. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to pick because I don't read short stories that often, but I actually realized I have one on my physical TBR, and that is Galatea by Madeline Miller, which actually on the cover says a short story. I have no idea what this is about. Also, this book is so crazy small. Like, it is the size of my hand. I have an interesting relationship with Madeline Miller in that I don't really like her. I don't really like her books. Circe, I gave 2 stars. Was not a fan of Circe. And then The Song of Achilles was more like a 3.5. I definitely think it was a lot better than Circe. So we will see what I think of this. Oh my God. It's normally $12. I got this secondhand, so I think it was like $2 or $3. It's normally $12? That's highway robbery. That is highway robbery. Oh my God. $12 for this? This better be the best little 30 pages I've ever read in my life. It says, an enchanting story that boldly reimagines the myth of Galatea and Pygmalion. Oh, Pygmalion. Why does that sound familiar? I'm sure you guys know what it is. I don't know what it is, I just know that I've heard that before. Oh well, I'm gonna start reading and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, this was so good. Oh my God. Do I finally understand? I think I finally understand why people love Madeline Miller. This was so good. Going into this, like I said, I don't know who Galatea, is it Galatea or Galatea? I'm gonna go Galatea. Did not know Galatea, did not know that myth. I actually realized the reason that I know Pygmalion, I did a little Googling, and Pygmalion is a figure in Greek myth, but there's also a play called Pygmalion. But the reason I was familiar with Pygmalion is because in Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen starring Lindsay Lohan, the musical that they're doing in that movie is like a modern reimagining of Pygmalion. That's why I know Pygmalion. Which, that tracks, that makes sense because I had a hyperfixation on that movie when I was a child because I really shipped Lindsay Lohan and Megan Fox's characters together. Anyways, this was so good. Basically, the story is that in ancient Greece, there is this sculptor who makes a sculpture of this like beautiful, perfect woman, and he prays to the gods for this statue that he made to come to life, and she does, and that is Galatea. So Galatea was made from marble, and she's now this man's wife. But he is very possessive and controlling and views her obviously as an object that he made and he can control. Before the start of the short story, she runs away from him and gets caught, and he like locks her up in like a mental institute. So she is closely guarded by doctors and nurses and kept in this little room, and he visits her once a month, and it's about her longing for escape. It was so good. It's very off-putting, hard to read a little bit. I was not expecting that. It's very hard to read because every month he visits her, he's assaulting her. Ugh, hated this man, hate him. But yeah, it was so good. The way that it ended, the writing, loved Galatea as a character. My only complaint is that I wanted it to be longer. I'm like, why did I sit through all of Circe and all of the Song of Achilles just for them to not be that good? But this 20-page little short story is incredible, and I want more of it. Why was this not one of her full-length books? I would have read an entire book about this. Maybe short story was the key. Maybe I only like Madeline Miller in short story form. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it 4.5. I don't know, because I'm like, I did want more from it, but if I'm rating it as a short story, it's a 5-star short story. I think it's 5 stars. I don't know if I've ever given something this short 5 stars, but here we are. The next tip that I'm gonna follow is to read a novella. So just like a little baby step up from a short story. And I actually just got my Libby hold came through for Murder by Memory by Olivia Waite. This is a like new cozy sci-fi murder mystery that sounds so good. It says Becky Chambers meets Miss Marple in this sci-fi ode to the cozy mystery helmed by a formidable, no-nonsense auntie of a detective. Sounds very fun. Also, another tip that I got that I will be doing throughout the whole video is to switch up the genre that I'm reading. So I think every single time I read something new, I'm gonna completely switch genres. So we went from a Greek mythology to now cozy sci-fi. Now I just need to find my headphones somewhere and I will start listening. I think I have another 5-star. Can we believe it? Oh my god, this was so good. I would read another 20 of them. I hope that this is gonna be a long series. I would read so many more. So basically this is, like I said, it's a sci-fi. You're on this spacecraft where the last of humanity is traveling very far in space to get to another planet. So in order to keep humanity alive, they basically have invented this way to, like, whenever someone dies, they can just re-upload their brain into a new body, right? It kind of reminded me of like Mickey 17 in that sense, where like they just can create a new version of that same person. So nobody actually ever really dies, just a new version of themselves is like downloaded. So basically the main character, she is a detective and she has been put into sleep for a while. You can like optionally be put into like long-term sleep if you want. Since no one ever really dies, sleep is like the only way that you can get a break. She ends up being put into sleep, but then she gets unexpectedly woken up, but her mind has been put into someone else's body and she's like, okay, what is going on? That leads her to many questions, like why is she in someone else's body? Why was she woken up? She finds out that someone in the ship was murdered, like actually dead, not coming back, not able to be re-downloaded, dead. So this is like the first real murder that has ever happened on this ship. So she's trying to figure out who is the murderer, how they actually did the murder, all while she's in someone else's body. That someone else might actually be the main suspect. It was so fun. It definitely had like a cozy, silly vibe to it. Really did remind me of Becky Chambers. I think this is one of the first things that I've read that I think is like an adequate comp for Becky Chambers. It's also a little sapphic, I don't want to call it a romance. There's some sapphic chemistry that I'm hoping, if this does end up being a long series, that gets developed. Another thing that it really reminded me of actually is this show called Upload. I love this show, but I've never heard anybody talk about it. Basically, if you like The Good Place, you will also like Upload, because it's a very similar concept, but just taken in a totally different direction. And I believe that the two creators of The Good Place and Upload are friends, and they both were inspired to create these TV shows by the same conversation that they had together about like the afterlife. So I just think that's very interesting. The two shows kind of work in tandem together, but basically Upload is when you die, you can upload your brain into a like virtual reality afterlife. The show is very fun and silly, and the book really reminded me of it, with the sense that like you can upload and download your conscious mind. I definitely recommend watching the show. The show is so fun, and I don't hear, literally I've never heard another person talk about it. And there's like 3 or 4 seasons. There's a decent amount of seasons. I don't know if I want to give this 4.5 stars or 5. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. I feel like this is gonna be one of those things where like retroactively I might give the first book 5 stars. I think it's something that like once there's more books out, because it was like very short. That's like my one critique, is I did want it to be like a little bit longer. I just want more of it. I want more. So I think once more books in the series are out, looking back, I could give the first one 5 stars, but I think for now it's gonna be 4.5, and we will revisit that when I've read another book in the series. So far, my reading has been going great. The next tip that I got a lot was to read a graphic novel or manga. I haven't read a graphic novel in a really long time. I used to love graphic novels and read them a lot. I think one of the reasons why I stopped is because they're kind of expensive for something that you would read in like an hour. My library actually like stopped buying them because I used to like get a lot from the library. But since I now have a new library, I did want to see what their selection was, and I found one on Hoopla that I've never heard of before, but the cover just intrigued me. It looked very beautiful. It's called The Confessional by Paige Hender. Here's the cover. It's beautiful. Love the colors. It says that it is a debut horror graphic novel about a newly turned vampire who yearns for salvation in the arms of the priest who uncovers her secret. That sounds so good. It sounds so good. I've literally never heard of this before, but I need to read it immediately. I finished. That was a 5-star graphic novel. I can't believe the luck that I'm having in this video so far. This is crazy. Maybe I need to follow you guys' reading tips more often, because so far it's been hit after hit after hit after hit. So yeah, like I said before, this follows a newly turned vampire. It takes place in 1922 New Orleans, and it's about a speakeasy that's run by vampires. That's where this girl Cora lives with her like vampire coven, and she is struggling with being a vampire. She's struggling with her desire to drink blood, so she has been going to confessional to confess her sins to this priest that she has a little crush on. I don't even want to say anymore. It was so good. It reminds me of, okay, stick with me with this. It's like if you combined Fleabag, Midnight Mass, and Sinners. Like if all of those were served up on a plate, it would be this graphic novel. I loved it. I loved it. It's definitely a horror graphic novel. The plot was so good, but the art style was beautiful. The use of colors. I love a graphic novel that sticks to like 1 or 2 colors and really uses color to tell the story. So almost everything is in pink and blue, but then there's like pops of red for blood, and it just, the way that it looks is so beautiful. Like I actually would buy art prints of the art from this book. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. So far, I feel like your tips that I'm following are not even just like getting me out of a reading slump, but it's also like getting me to maybe read things that wouldn't like be in my normal rotation, like a short story or a graphic novel. It's kind of like disrupting my normal habits and patterns when it comes to selecting books. I think it's working though. I think it's working. Like I feel very excited about reading right now in a way that I haven't in a while. So the next tip that I'm gonna try to follow is to mood read. A lot of people said, just follow your mood. Mood read. I always have had a hard time doing that. So I think what I'm gonna do is we'll put a pin in that one, and if over the next couple of days I get a strong urge to read something, I'll come back and I'll tell you what that is and we'll read it. Okay, I am feeling the urge to mood read. I was just sitting here watching some booktube videos, which actually that was another suggestion. A lot of people said that they watch booktube when they're in a slump to get inspiration and like motivation to read. So I was just watching Jordaline's book haul, and she talked about this book.
I have Kill Creatures by Rory Power. Look at this. Oh my god, Tiffany. Do you see that?
And just the way that she described it made it sound so interesting, and I was like, that is what I want to read right now. And I looked it up, and the audiobook is on Spotify. So I think I'm gonna listen to it. It's been so long since I read a Rory Power book. I actually think, fun fact, I think that she was the one who got me into reading horror books. I'm pretty sure Wilder Girls was one of the first like horror books that I read, and then it sent me on a rabbit hole, which is very weird because I've always loved horror. I've loved horror movies since I was a little kid, but for some reason that did not translate into my reading for a very long time. I kind of was under the impression that like horror books was just Stephen King for the longest time. I didn't know that there was anything else. And then I read Wilder Girls and I loved it, but I haven't read one of her books in a while because she's been writing fantasy for the past few years and I just have not really been interested in it. But this one I think is I actually don't think this one is horror. I think it's just a thriller. It sounds very fun. I always have a fun time with her books. I am going to go with my mood. Right now, in this moment, this is the book that I want to read, so I'm gonna read it. So I'm like halfway into Kill Creatures. I'll talk to you about it in a second, because another tip that I got a lot was to do some sort of hobby while I'm listening to an audiobook. I was trying to decide, like, okay, what kind of hobby do I want to do? And I remembered that I've always wanted to get into embroidery. I love things that are embroidered. When I go thrifting and I like look for things, if I see something with embroidery on it, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna buy it. So I really wanted to learn how to embroider. So basically, I bought an embroidery kit and I'm going to attempt to do that. So this is the design of the kit that I got. I just thought this was so cute. Little duckies having a picnic. Adorable. I was thinking, oh, maybe I should get like one of those like beginner kits that just like teaches you all the stitches, but I kind of just wanted to go straight for a design. That might be a mistake. I do know how to sew, so I'm not coming at it with like zero knowledge. I know how to sew. I've made clothes before. I haven't done it in a very long time, but I do know like general stitches, so I think I could do it. We've got all the thread, the hoop, fabric with the like design on it. I think I can figure it out. I'm gonna do my best. So I think while I'm doing this whole get out of reading slump challenge, I'm going to be working on this throughout like the whole video. I'm not saying I'm gonna finish it in this video, because that's very unlikely. But like I said, I am halfway into this book. And actually, I didn't even realize this. Another person's suggestion, was actually to read this very specific book. I got a comment that was saying that they like to read YA thrillers when they're in a slump, and specifically recommended this book. So that's perfect. Like I said, I'm halfway into it and I am enjoying it so far. I'm not like obsessed, but it is really good, capturing my attention for sure. Basically, it's about 4 girls who are friends, and they went to this like little like cove island thing, and 4 of them went and only 1 of them came back. There's like a big mystery around what happened, and so it's a year later now, and they're having a like the 1-year memorial for the 3 girls who died. And as they're having the memorial, something is off in the water. Everyone in shock. It's one of the girls. It's one of the 3 girls who went missing and died. And everyone is like shocked, surprised, but no one is more surprised than the main character, Nan, because she goes, there's no way she's still alive because I killed her. What? So it's very interesting so far because we already know like who the killer is. It is the main character and she's crazy. The whole first chapter she was like, those are my best friends, those are my girls, like I love them with my whole heart and soul. But then we find out she killed them. I feel like there's like 2 directions that the book could go in, and I know which one I want more, but I don't know which way it's gonna go. It can either be like, oh, she's actually like the hero, like her friends really sucked, were like really bad, and she like did something good by killing them, you know, like the twist is gonna be like, oh, her friends were actually evil, or she's batshit crazy. She's batshit crazy, and I kind of want her to just be crazy. That would be so fun. So I don't know, we will see. Like I said, I'm not like obsessed. It is very fun. I finished Kill Creatures last night. I actually finished it while I was doing my nails, which technically can be considered a hobby. I also have made progress on my embroidery. Not that much progress, don't get your hopes up. But I'm almost done with the mama duck. I just have to do her wing, her beak, and her little feet, and her eye. Honestly, I am loving embroidery. I have tried so many different like crafting hobbies, and none of them have stuck. None of them are ones that I'm like I enjoy doing. I think part of why I enjoy this is because 1, it taps into skills that I already had but that I wasn't using. And also, I am motivated by really wanting the end product because I love things that have embroidery on it. I have that motivation to finish because I think it's gonna be so cute and I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna frame it and I'm gonna hang it on my wall. So I'm having a lot of fun. It is going slow. I did mess up in a few places, but it's fine. I'm just kind of like trying to figure it out as I go. Did not look up any tutorials or anything. I probably should have, but I'm just trying to see if my knowledge of stitches from 15 years ago comes back to me. And it kind of is. Anyways, Kill Creatures. I think I'm gonna give this 3 stars. It was definitely entertaining. It was fast-paced. I read it pretty much in one day. It's a very quick read, and I think it would make a really fun, like, kind of CW TV show. Kind of like, oh, it reminded me sort of that show on Freeform, Cruel Summer. It had that vibe to it. That show, each season was a different story. I feel like if they did a season 3, this book would be a good one to like adapt as that season, because it definitely had that vibe. I think it just didn't do anything special. Like, it didn't wow me. It didn't excite me. I do think partly knowing that the main character is the killer took a lot of suspense out of it, because you're more so trying to figure out why she did it, but the why is actually given to you very early on. There is kind of like another twist at the end that I did like, but I think it wasn't enough to like keep the suspense the whole book. But because you know who the killer is from the beginning, and then you find out why around like halfway through the book, it really just kind of like made it less exciting. I wish that some of those reveals had been kept for the end. I did like the ending though. The ending was fun. So, not bad, not great, 3 stars. I think if you are looking for a fast-paced YA thriller, I would recommend it. But I do think of the 3 Rory Power books I have read, it's probably my least favorite. I do wish it had been horror. I think if it had been horror instead of a thriller, it could have been more exciting for me. I kept hoping for and waiting for some sort of like horror element added into it, but that never happened. I have come to the library to get a library card, and I think while I'm here, I'm going to try to find a thriller to read. That was one suggestion that I got a lot, was to read a fast-paced thriller, and I don't actually have any thrillers on my physical TBR. I've read all the thrillers that I own. So I think the library will be a good place to find them. I'm not sure what to expect with this library, so I'm not sure if they're gonna have a big selection. It actually kind of looks like a big library, but I think I'll be able to find a thriller, and I'm gonna see what else they have. Okay, so the thriller that I ended up getting is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This one, actually, Sarah recommended to me recently. She read it and loved it. And her and I usually have the same taste in thrillers. The way that she described it was like Alias, where a girl has like a secret identity and she's like a spy or something, and there's like someone who gives her tasks to do or like assignments. It sounds interesting. It sounds not like the typical thriller. My next tip that I got a few times was to read multiple books at the same time and like go back and forth between them, which is not something that I do very often. I experimented with doing that a long time ago, and it actually made me read more, but I think the actual process of doing it was just like a little complicated for me to figure out, of like when you stop one book and start another book and like when you go back and forth. So I'm actually going to combine this tip with another one that someone said, mark the book in 50-page increments. And I would assume that by doing that, it kind of gives you like a smaller goal when you're reading versus like trying to read the whole book. So I think I'm gonna combine those, and I'm going to read 2 books at the same time, mark them at 50-page increments, and every 50 pages I will swap between the 2. I will be reading First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, which is the book that I got at the library, and then the other one is going to be a romance book, because a lot of people said to read fun romances in a slump, and I've really been in the mood for a sapphic historical romance. So I got An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera. It's a historical romance that takes place in Paris, and it's about a girl who is about to be married off to this man, but she wants to explore everything that Paris has to offer, all the women that Paris has to offer, before she has to marry this man. Sounds very fun. So I will be going back and forth between a romance and a thriller. Every 50 pages, I will swap. for both of these books. Like I said, I marked off 50 pages and I've been alternating back and forth, which I actually am really enjoying doing that. I think especially too because they're such different genres, it is actually really helping me. When I tried this before and it didn't work for me, I think partly why is because I could never figure out like when to stop one book and switch to the other. And so I'd end up like reading 90% of one book and then I'd be like, oh, I should switch, and then go to the other book and read 90% of that, and then I just finished both books. But I think doing it every 50 pages, like having that be a goal where like, okay, I hit 50 pages, no matter what I'm feeling, I'm gonna switch. I think that does help me stay motivated, and like I'm switching up the vibes a lot, and I am enjoying both books right now. So I'll start with Island Princess Starts a Scandal. Like I said, this is a sapphic historical romance. It's about this girl and her two friends who I'm guessing, because this is technically the second book in the series, there's 3 books. I'm guessing each book follows one of the friends, and it kind of seems like all the books might be taking place at the same time, because there were references to like her friend like going off and like meeting some random guy, and I'm like, oh, that seems like it's probably the plot of another book. So these 3 friends go to Paris. Manuela, the main character in this book, is about to be married off to this man, and she really wants to have her last hurrah as a single woman. At the very beginning, she goes into this sort of like underground brothel of lesbians, and while she's there, she meets this woman and they have like a little encounter, and then they part ways and they don't see each other again. But another thing that she is in Paris for is to potentially sell off some land that she has. There is a group of people who want the land to build a railroad on it. So she's meeting up with this duchess in order to arrange this like business deal. And when she goes to meet the duchess, guess who it is? The woman that she met at the beginning. She strikes up a deal with this woman and says, I will sell you my land on the condition that you take me around Paris and introduce me to tons of women and help me live up my last months of single life. I am enjoying it so far. I will say that this is on the slower side. I was kind of hoping that it would be like more of a quicker paced historical romance, because sometimes with historical romances, I either read them very slowly because they're very slow paced, or I read them in one sitting because I'm just like eating it up. It's so quick. This is definitely like a slow burn, so it's going slower. But then on the other hand, this book is a thriller, so it's more fast-paced. So this one is following this girl named Evie. She's dating this guy. They just moved in together. It's all perfect and amazing, except for the fact that Evie does not exist. Evie is not her real name. Nothing about her is real. She's actually like a con artist, spy, whatever you want to call it, and she has a boss named Mr. Smith who basically will give her a new identity, tell her this is who you're going to investigate, you're going to do something with this person, and she puts on all these different identities and infiltrates people's lives. We're also getting like flashbacks to her, how she got into this organization, some of her previous aliases. I know I mentioned that it's kind of like Alias, but I will say it actually is reminding me more of the show Revenge, especially with the fact that like she's moved into this neighborhood, she is dating this guy to like get close to him and like learn stuff about him, but she might actually be having feelings for him. She's conflicted. I am definitely intrigued so far. I do think I picked the right books to like flip back and forth between so far. I'm really enjoying that method. I finished both books. I continued doing the method of switching back and forth between the two of them. It actually worked out because they were almost exactly the same page length. This one was slightly longer. Island Princess Starts a Scandal. I think I'm gonna give this one, I'm between a 3.5 and a 4. I think I'm gonna go like 3.75. It's very close to a 4-star. I think maybe if I was reading it any other time, it would be a 4-star, but the pace really bogged it down. It was very slow paced, and I just think that right now that's like not what I needed. I find myself having a hard time when I was reading 50 pages of this versus when I was reading 50 pages of this. I did really like the romance. I liked the plot. I liked everything about it. I was hoping more for a romance that I was gonna like want to devour, and that's not necessarily what this was. I am gonna read the other books in the series, like I'm invested. I really enjoyed it. And there's really nothing I can say that was wrong with it other than it being slow paced, which is not a fault of the book. I think it's just a slower paced story because it is a slow burn. Maybe I'll bump it up to a 4-star. For now, I'm like 3.75, but I did enjoy it a lot. I just think for the mood that I'm in right now, I probably should have gone with a different romance, something that would have been a little bit quicker. First Light Wins, I have very complicated feelings about because I loved the concept, the idea of the book. I just wish that this was written by a different author. Like, I wish I could take this entire concept, this entire plot, this entire story, and just have someone else write it. Because unfortunately, I don't think Ashley Elson was particularly good in her writing. I actually realized this is her adult debut, and I have read a YA book by her, and that makes so much sense that she's typically a YA author and this is her first adult book. I think a big problem with this book was in the writing. There was so much telling versus showing, especially at the end. The entire ending of the book, like the plot reveal, the twist, it's not even shown what happens. You're just explained what happens. Like, the main character just tells you, like spells it out. And that really annoyed me because I was like, okay, you don't have any faith in the reader to like put it together themselves. And it also wasn't even particularly exciting. The reveal kind of hinged on a couple things that I thought weren't done very well, particularly in the flashbacks. I think the reveal hinged a lot on the flashbacks, but the flashbacks were boring. Like, the flashbacks were not interesting, which is crazy because those are the parts where you're seeing her do like these different jobs under these different identities. And that should have been so interesting, but somehow they were boring when it came to the reveal and how everything came together. It was supposed to seem very like, oh, I'm thinking 20 steps ahead. However, all of it was based on something that happened by sheer luck. So you want me to believe that there was this like mastermind plan, right? But also that if this one thing did not happen, it all would have crumbled to pieces. I don't know, I had higher hopes for it. I think the beginning was very fun, and then it just kind of like torpedoed down. It's not the worst thriller that I've ever read, but it wasn't particularly great. I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars, which is unfortunate because this concept was so fun. I want to read someone else's interpretation of this concept. Let me know if there's any other thrillers that are about like spies or con women or anyone with like a secret identity type of vibe. So I think it is safe to say that I am officially out of my reading slump. This was actually very successful for me. I read a lot of different things, and there was a lot of things that I did that I do think I'm gonna try to incorporate in my reading going forward, especially this method of like switching back and forth between multiple books. I really liked that. I kind of want to do like a deeper experiment with that and see how far I can push it. Like, how many books can I read at once? I think that would be fun. I did want to just mention it. One of the tips that I was given the most was to reread a favorite book. I obviously did not do that in this video because I did that very recently as a way to get out of my reading slump, and it didn't work. And I'm not the biggest rereader. I just don't think that that actually works for me. I've never found that it works for me. Once I've read a story, if I read it again, it takes out all of the excitement. And so when I'm in a reading slump, it just kind of makes it something that I'm like, it's fine, but it's not exciting because it's not new. But like I said, this experiment was very successful. You guys definitely gave me a lot of really good tips, and I am very excited that I am out of my reading slump, hopefully. But thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and check out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!